Without further ado, I will introduce our first speaker. That would be Dr. Doug Wilson. He is the medical director for the Inpatient Palliative Care Service in Napa. He has worked at the Queen of the Valley Medical Center since 2001, as well as Communicare. Is it Ole? Yes, okay. Communicare Ole. He grew up in the Napa Valley. He is a devoted husband and father. When we're not working, he enjoys his family, nature, kiteboarding, and exploring consciousness. And he has been a Kali Reiki practitioner for many years now. Let me turn it over to you, Dr. Doug, and you can talk about your experience or one of your experiences with Kali Reiki.
Sure, thank you so much. This was more than a decade ago when I first learned the power of uh, distance Reiki. I was caring for a baby uh, who was about a year old and had developed RSV, which is a virus that affects the lungs. And the baby wasn't able to breathe. And so we put him in the hospital and we were giving him all the medicines we know how to do. And uh, at first, he seemed to get better, and then he was getting worse. And so there was a huge sense of foreboding, uh, anxiety, because we're not the big city. We don't typically do everything that can be done for kids. And so if he got worse, we were going to have to uh, intubate him, to put a tube down into his lungs and have the machine breathe for him and try and get him off to the big city. And uh, he was just struggling very hard to breathe. And there was a sense that, he might be getting close to what we call tiring out, where the effort to breathe just becomes greater than the energy available to breathe. And uh, that's when uh, that's when we die. So we joined together as a group for our morning uh, Kula meeting, and we sent healing energy to this baby about 9:30, and uh, the feeling sense in the group was just so full of peace and love and joy. And I remember thinking about the extreme contrast between the anxiety and it's all love, but the the worry and the heaviness in the hospital compared to the love and the peace in the group that was beaming the baby energy. And so after that, I went back to the hospital to check and see, and the baby was breathing comfortably, and the oxygen had improved, and everyone was so relieved. I said, "What time did that happen?" And the nurse said, "Well, it seemed like there's a big transition around 9:30. We just kind of relaxed." Um, and he went on to do well and never had to go to the big city and got out of the hospital a couple days later.
That is such a great story, Dr. Doug. And of course, I remember that day, and I remember being in that circle and sending that love energy. And it just always means so much when it makes a difference. And in this case, especially for a child, it was really fabulous. And you know what? That group is still going on 10 years later. Actually, I think we'd already been going on for several years then. Every Thursday morning, we get together and we give Reiki to one another and to everyone that we know who needs it, and to all those we don't know who need it. Yeah, great story. Thank you.
You always say that we become the Reiki. And so while that story is maybe the most dramatic that I've had, I've noticed a transition over the years in studying with this group and using these symbols and letting the energy behind the symbols sort of saturate into my being, that I just move through the world differently, and a certain peace rests in my heart and my soul. And when I see people who are struggling, uh, it's easier to share that part of ourselves than it used to be.
Yeah, and often, even when we're not intending it, we're transmitting that. And it's such a I think you use the word grace. It's such grace. It's such a blessing to be able to offering, even when our mind may be someplace else. It's like people are receiving the energy, and it's we become these transmitters.